To add a pivot table, it's simply go onto the table. We can then have the shortcut Alt, N, V and T, and that allows us to bring up this box here. We need to either go to a new worksheet or an existing, but for this particular example, we're just going to go to the existing so we can see the data next to each other. Choose a location here, press OK. Now, once we're here, let's do a simple pivot table. So we have filters, columns, rows and values. So simply want to add between the columns and the rows and values. So we want to have a look at the values as the quantity. Values are usually going to be numbers, and when you drop in a quantity, you can look at different ways. So it generally detects whether it's a sum or a count. If you drop it in something like a country, as it doesn't have a number value, it's a text, it's going to choose the count. And here it gives you total count of country, but these are not individual, these are not unique. So it will count China. If we have China 18 times, it's going to count China 18 times. Now let's just drop that back out. Let's put the quantity sold here. And we're going to simply have a look at the rows. We'll put the data in here and the rows come up on the bottom here. Now if you have a look at the table here, you will find that you have years, quarters. We don't need quarters, we don't need months, and we don't need the date sold. We're simply just going to have the year in the row column. You could also add an additional, let's add a department to the year. If you add the department to the year, you will find that you have the drop down here, but a better way to visualize this would be to take the department and put it at the top. Now this is a better way to visualize your data. Let us just make the columns a little bit smaller. And here we can simply change the format of our table in a simple way by using format as a table. We could simply just go and look at the pre-formatted data sets that we have here. So let's have a look at that. Now we have a pre-formatted pivot table right here. Now, if we want to have another view of our data, we don't need to go through all of this, especially if we've changed the format of it. So you can simply just copy everything, Control C, Control V, and say that instead of having all the departments together, we want to remove the department. So we can simply just bring back our pivot table with the same format and the same data. You could also click into your pivot table and you can go across to the design ribbon at the top. So once you have a selection on the pivot table, you could go across to design and you have a number of different options here. So if you wanted to change the format, you could. You have column headers here. So if we uncheck that, it removes the formatting there. You could also have banded columns. So that will easily let you identify columns, but we just need to change the color here. So we have banded columns here, or we could have banded rows. And depending on the design, you can have different formats of how this appears. So let's do banded column and a banded row. So that is how the design works on pivot tables.